Hello and welcome once again to another episode of the It's the Pictures podcast. I'm your host, Max Colville, and this is another special dispatch from the 2022 Toronto International Film Festival. I have another 4 films to talk about and discuss. Hopefully you'll find one here that you love too. Probably the one I'm reviewing last, the one I saw at TIFF last, it was Darren Aronofsky's The Whale with Brendan Fraser, so stay tuned to hear my thoughts on that one. But yeah, the last day of TIFF was pretty crazy, 4-film day, and I started off with The Menu, which is a new film that's kind of like makes fun of the high society that loves these like really expensive meals. It kind of like skewers them, if you will. And the movie's directed by Mark Mylod, who's best known for maybe directing episodes of like Game of Thrones and Succession. Here he's directing actors Ray Fiennes and Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, and Hong Chow, among others. And the idea of the movie is that Anya Taylor-Joy is going with her boyfriend to this island to eat at this very exclusive restaurant. Apparently it's very difficult to get reservations, and it has like dramatic theme to it, right? Like it's some place that only the elite of the elite can eat at. And the movie like has it set up where they're going through the island and looking at all the food and where it's sourced, and just how much effort goes into every meal. And at first you're just like watching these people eat this like really strange meal. The head chef is played by Ray Fiennes, and he's wonderful in this movie. And of course he's planned the menu, if you will, to exact precision, giving every dish his utmost care. And I guess what you ultimately discover is that this meal is going to be a little bit different than all the other meals that have ever been served at the restaurant known as Hawthorne. And it goes to some pretty dark places. It certainly has its moments of being a thriller. I thought it was going to be more like, I don't know, like the movie The Hunt that came out a few years ago, where these rich people would go to this island and then like the tables would be turned on them and they'd be hunted to death and something like that. But it goes to places that are a little bit different than that, and I was happy to see it. It some people will argue that it might be like too clever for its own good, but I think it's like a delightful little dark comedy. And like there was this movie Fresh that I reviewed out of Sundance, and like I think like this is the movie that Fresh kind of wants to be, like that kind of like dark thriller comedy. And this is just so much more effective. I think that people who are into like high dining and stuff like that will get a kick out of it. And like I did it myself. Like it's supposed to come out November 18th, 2022. And the next film I saw was One Fine Morning, and that one played at the Cannes Film Festival. And let me see, it's directed by Mia Hansen-Løve, and her last film was Bergman Island, which I really enjoyed. This one is not quite as good. It stars actress Léa Seydoux, who's internationally famous. People who don't know her roles from like Blue is the Warmest Color and what have you might know her best from like her roles in the James Bond films Spectre and No Time to Die. where she played the love interest opposite Daniel Craig. And the crux of this movie is that Leah Seydoux is playing a woman who's taking care of her father, and the father has like a neurodegenerative disease, and she's living with her 8-year-old daughter, and we come to learn that like her husband passed away like 5 years ago, and she hasn't really dated, and she confides in a friend who she begins to have an affair with. And so the movie goes through not only the difficulties with taking care of a parent that is suffering with the neurodegenerative disease, but also like how she manages to juggle her relationship with this man, and whether or not she can stick it out with all the things that come up with having an affair with somebody. It's not really inventive. I've seen like a lot of movies like this, and it's one thing to do one thing and be good at it, but it tries to do both the taking care of the parent and the romance angle, and neither one of them were all that good. I think it's a pretty like slight movie. It's ultimately disappointing. I didn't like it too much. I think this might be another like Sony Pictures Classic release, and I'm not sure when it's supposed to come out. I think it says here that its next showing is going to be at the New York Film Festival. So if you want to see it there, you can check it out. I'm not too high on it. I think Leah Seydoux is always good, so like she was excellent in it. But other than that, I don't have too much to recommend about One Fine Morning. The next movie I checked out at the Toronto International Film Festival was this film called Chevalier, and it's coming out from Searchlight Pictures eventually. I don't know whether or not it will be a theatrical release or a direct-to-Hulu release like some of their titles have been. This one stars Kelvin Harrison Jr. He was a co-star in Cyrano that came out earlier this year, and he was also in the movie Waves from a few years back. But this is a big starring performance for him. He plays Joseph Bolonga, a kind of composer, fencer, fighter, a man of everything during the time of Marie Antoinette. And even though his skin was black, he was so gifted in so many arts and fighting that he was given a tremendous title in his life. And rounding out the cast is Samara Weaving, Lucy Boynton, Minnie Driver shows up. I think those are the bigger parts, but the movie is really it tells the true story of the composer Joseph Bolonga, and he was the illegitimate son of an African slave and a French plantation owner, and how he rose to heights in French society as a composer before he has a love affair. And there's a lot of elements in the film that not only of him composing and making these terrific plays, but also the drama that's happening with Marie Antoinette is in the background. The movie, I love the way the movie starts, right? I guess like Mozart is on a stage and he's performing like a violin concerto, and Joseph Bolonga comes on and like shows off his skills against Mozart's, and it's a really great opening to that movie. Something I really enjoyed. Of course, with a period piece like this, you get like great costumes, and that's certainly here. The movie itself is directed by Stephen Williams, and he was involved with like the newer Watchmen TV show, and I guess he was an executive producer on Lost. So there's a lot of talent involved in the film, but ultimately I was left a little cold. I thought it was like fine, right? It's not something that I think was wonderful, and I think that ultimately, I don't know whether or not the movie's going to be in theaters or on Hulu. The way that I kind of see myself enjoying it, I wouldn't be surprised if it was just on Hulu, even though it has moments that are like grand and great to see in a theater. We'll ultimately see, but I think it was kind of satisfactory, right? Not something that I was really blown over by, but something that I think people would enjoy if they ultimately sat down and watched it. Alrighty, here is the end of my my reviews from this year's TIFF, and it's one of the ones that I most anticipated out of the festival and of the whole year, and that is Darren Aronofsky's The Whale, featuring the leading actor return of Brendan Fraser. He's been in some roles like on HBO's Doom Patrol, if you want to see him, or I guess he was in No Sudden Moves, or I think that's what it was called, the Steven Soderbergh movie, as a supporting role. But here he is the leading man, the taking up the leading role for this one. And for those who don't know, it is based on the play by Samuel D. Hunter. I guess it was an off-Broadway play, and Aronofsky saw it, and he's been trying to get it made for about a decade. He was really interested in the work, and it obviously has a lot of elements of Aronofsky's other protagonists and stories, where here's this character that's suffering from some kind of physical and mental disability, and what it does to them, and trying to cope with that. Certainly those are elements he covered in Requiem for a Dream, and The Wrestler to a great extent. So The Whale is definitely in his wheelhouse. It definitely feels like a play from how it was made. You know, it all takes place in Brendan Fraser's house, as he plays the man Charlie, and it all takes place in that one location and over the course of a week. And we throughout the movie we learn how Charlie got into the situation he is with being so overweight, and how he's become estranged from his daughter Ellie, who's played by Stranger Things Sadie Sink. Also, the movie also co-stars Hong Chow as Liz, and who she's like kind of like his nurse that comes to the house and takes care of him. And there's some other supporting characters in there, but not too many, because like I said, it's based on a small stage play, so the action is really centered on the characters like Fraser and Sadie Sink. And yeah, it's not an easy watch, right? Because it's seeing a man like kind of put himself through hell, and how he got into this situation, and it not only asks a lot of things about depression and coping methods, but also like deals with how the suicide of one person can have ramifications throughout many different lives. Of course, the allegory of the whale comes into play, because I guess the easy thing to see is like the allegory of Brendan Fraser's character Charlie as being the whale in Moby Dick, right? There's a frequent essay that's referenced throughout the movie about Moby Dick, but it's a very delicate subject to talk about, right? This supreme weight gain and obesity. It's a very difficult topic for people to discuss, and there's a lot of different feelings about how it's portrayed on the screen and whether or not it's given the care that it needs, or if it's just something to laugh and chuckle at, and that would not be the purpose of this movie. Ultimately, I really felt for the character of Charlie, and I was moved throughout the screening, and certainly the last like 10-15 minutes absolutely wrecked me. I think it has a wonderful finale. I don't know though. People will have ranging different opinions on it. I think like the performances themselves are better than the story that's being told, if that makes sense. Certainly Brendan Fraser and Sadie Sink are excellent. Hong Chow is really good too, but I just think that there's gonna be wildly different opinions on it, and whereas I ultimately think like the movie itself isn't maybe all that great, even though like I emotionally connected with it. It might just be that the performances are that good, and I definitely think Brendan Fraser was gonna get all the kudos in the world for his role in this movie. He certainly was fantastic. So, as always, if you like what you hear and you'd like to follow us on Twitter, I'm at MH Colville. The podcast is at It's the Pick Pod. You can follow us on Letterboxd, Apple, Spotify, wherever you want. As always, you can subscribe to the newsletter at Substack. It's the pictures at .substack.com, and you can get our written versions of these podcast dispatches if you're interested, and stay tuned for future discussions on the Toronto International Film Festival and much more on the It's the Pictures podcast. All right, signing off. Bye.